We've got some basketball and football to talk about with Clay Henry, our friend and publisher of Hawgs Illustrated. Clay, a happy new year to you. I know I saw you New Year's Day, but we might as well say it over the airwaves again. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Happy New Year's to you and Drew and Matty T there. I mean, it's just good to be with all the guys.
Yeah, that's right. So we're ringing alarm bells for basketball right now. It feels you shouldn't. Not every loss is the same, right? You shouldn't be losing at home to Vanderbilt. Shouldn't be allowing 75 points to Vanderbilt. That game yesterday goes in the pretty bad loss category, right?
I thought it was, yeah, and I didn't see anything that changed my opinion that their defense is suspect and they don't have true guard scoring. I mean, I don't really consider Umude. I mean, you look at the box score and they list him as a guard and Tony as a guard. They're not guards.
He jumps
and that's part of the problem because their guard defense is what's suspect. You can't ask forwards to cover guards, and that's what they're trying to do.
It's an interesting. I mean, that's right, and that has nothing to do with chemistry of this team defensively. It's just having a little trouble guarding at a certain point on the floor, and you do. I mean, gosh, I lost track of all the open threes that Vanderbilt had really good looks at yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, if you really want to just oversimplify it, Vanderbilt had a timeout with 1 second left in the first half and got a layup. Arkansas had a timeout with 1 second left, or 1.2, and they got a quickly launched three from JD. I mean, it wasn't a bad shot, but it wasn't a layup. That's what Vanderbilt got. So you have to give Stackhouse a real plus for the way he handled that.
That's true. You know what it feels like right now, and I think this is the case on both sides of the ball. They obviously have a problem shooting, but it still offensively seems like a team of individual parts that don't mesh, and defensively I'm seeing the exact same thing, and it just feels, what is it, how long does it take for chemistry within a team to start to form until you might realize maybe it's not going to happen?
Yeah, and I mean, when you do this grand deal of the transfers and all that, there might be a time or two where it doesn't all come together. I mean, Musselman's really good at it. There's no doubt, and I mean, I think everybody had confidence that this was all the right pieces, and then he would put them together and they would fit. But sometimes I guess it's not going to happen. I don't know. Kentucky has the one and done plan. They sometimes it looks really good. They get all the pieces put together and have a 1 year team, and then they all head their different ways, and then sometimes it didn't. Last year it didn't. I mean, it just didn't work. And those were nice looking pieces, right? I mean, you wanted all of them, but excuse me.
Bless you.
Devo Davis would seem to be one of the best players on this team, and he was a non-factor last night and played 8 minutes and had some turnovers and just wasn't a factor. And you want him to cover the other team's best guard, right? And he was not a factor. I mean, when he turns the ball over, I guess you got to get him out of the game. His ball handling. But they continue to have turnovers that you just say that's not forced. It's like a guard-to-guard pass outside, and there's somebody overplaying the passing lane, and you throw it, and it's a breakaway the other way. Arkansas's not getting any of those transition points like that, and Vanderbilt botched a couple of those, but you can't give up those plays, and that's poor offense.
Yeah, and Clay, I agree with you. I think that sometimes it just doesn't mesh, and sometimes that it just doesn't work out. It doesn't matter how much talent you bring into a room. If all the pieces don't fit right together, then the overall picture is just going to look blurry, and it's not going to look exactly right. But you still got to try to figure out something, some way to fix this, to turn it around. And I might be off base, but should, maybe changing up a pace of play, either, trying to speed up to work on transition or slowing down a little even more to kind of help you on the defensive side, waste a little bit more clock? I mean, could it be something as simple as that, as either, playing at a different pace?
Well, I think it comes down to getting stops on defense. You have to stop the ball, and you cannot have penetration. And that's pace, if you want to call it. If you can't get a stop. And I mean, you have to stop the ball from going to the basket. And they may not be getting shots inside, but they're getting kickouts for threes. And this is basketball to me. The team that gets the best shots wins. I mean, it hadn't changed. I mean, there's different ways to do that. There's different players. But if I watch a game and the team that got the best shots, more times than not, unless they just can't shoot, they're going to win. And I thought that the team with the better shots was Vanderbilt. And Pippen, he had 7 turnovers, and they forced him into some things that he didn't want to do. But he got the penetration. He has the skill set to break down a defense. And, that set up Thomas, the guard. I guess he came off the bench and made 5 threes. But they were good looks. And it's like I say, the team with the best shots is going to win. And I do not think that Musselman is giving up. I mean, I think he'll keep doing, like you say, he'll keep trying to find different pace of play, but they've got to put 5 guys on the floor that can stop the ball. And it's been a continuous problem over the last month. That's, the 4 out of 5 losses. That's almost every. I mean, Hofstra took it to the rim over and over and over. And that's beating somebody off the dribble, just straight line dribbles. And that didn't happen with Musselman's first teams here. And I didn't see it happen when he was at Nevada. So he'll sort that out. But it's defensive fundamentals where you have to stop the dribble. And if you don't, you'll continue to have one team getting better shots than the other team.
Yeah, and, regardless of the analytics or the way the game's played, you're right. It's pretty much, regardless of what sport you play, it all really comes down to some very simple things, and best shots normally win in basketball. But, Clay, do you know anything more about the Kamani Johnson situation? Obviously, he was back with the team last night. I mean, it just felt so weird.
Yeah, I do not. And, I mean, it can be something as simple as missing weightlifting or something. I mean, that's just – or being late for something, and if you a couple of times you're late or something like that, well, then you're going to miss a game, or you're going to sit. So, I mean, I don't know the chemistry of this team, what's going on, but it just looks a little out of kilter to me. I mean, it just does. And again, that's bringing in a lot of new players and sorting it all through. And, you got NIL. I mean, is that part of it? I don't know. I mean, it just, some teams will handle the NIL. It did not seem to bother the football team. And they had all sorts of NIL deals. But it's a different world. And, I mean, it's different for coaches. And they've got to figure it out. And I've talked to some veteran coaches, and they're like, I don't know how I would do that. And, it's like, this guy makes this guy makes that. You think Eric had been in the NBA, he would understand, that sometimes players make more than coaches, right? In the NBA. Yeah. It's a little different. Yeah.
It's interesting the way you put about the NIL, and I'm not putting it just on the NIL, but all the players on this team, Devo Davis has been publicized probably more than any of the others. He's on the All-SEC preseason. He's got billboards of his likeness in Jacksonville. He's doing radio appearances, radio ads, and stuff like that. And he is not the same player. And that's
he has not played the same as last year. You're exactly right.
We got to hit on that once we get back from the upcoming break, because I thought Devontae Davis was the heart and soul of this team coming in this year. And, it just hasn't happened. Is it a change of position? Is it, he never knows if he's going to have to, be a point guard one day and a shooting guard the next day. It's responsibility sometimes, the way you look at yourself, especially after 1 year of college basketball. That can change things up. If you got any questions for Clay, you can text them to us at 877-377-6963. We'll come right back. Clay Henry joining us from Hawgs Illustrated and from the Morning Rush and a whole bunch of other things here for this final segment, hour number 1. And a little more on basketball before we hit on the Outback Bowl and what could be coming up for Arkansas football. Because, Clay, we were talking about Devo Davis going into the break. And, isn't it amazing that the guy who hit the biggest shot of the season last year to send Arkansas to the Elite Eight wasn't even on the court yesterday in the final minute when a shot could potentially win you a game. And I know at that point he really had barely played very much, but it says a lot about what's happened this year. I don't think just for Devo, but for this team specifically. I don't know if he understands what his role is supposed to be or if it's been, properly communicated to him in what way, but I don't know. If he was supposed to be the leader, if he was the guy that the coaches and the media were pointing at in the preseason stuff, then, his play has been up and down, a little more down than up. It feels like a sophomore slump, and the team is suffering from it.
Yeah, whether it's a sophomore slump or what, but it's a slump. I don't know. It is. You called that right, and he's. He ought to be a force defensively, and it just hadn't worked out. And I don't know whether it's been odd matchups or what, but he ought to be able to take a guy and slow him down, and that's not happening. Mm-hmm. And offensively, he does too much. He's still left-hand dominant, and there's no doubt that teams have overplayed him so much to the left that it just kind of discombobulates him. And, there's too many crazy passes, like that. There's two guys there. You can't throw it through. There may be a guy open on the other side, but you can't throw it to those two guys. So they're just turnovers. And, I know he's frustrated, and when things don't go well, there's a tendency for it to get worse. And sometimes you just have to sit him down, and that's what Muss did last night. He only played 8 minutes. His stat line was just almost all zeros except a couple of fouls and 3 turnovers, right?
Yeah. Well, leadership it has to take hold on the court, and you can't lead a team if you're not on the court. Well, it's not about tweeting. It's not about calling meetings. It's being on the court, leading by example. And, Clay, we saw that in so many different examples during the football season, and we're still waiting for that in basketball.
Yeah, I think you have to be a good player to be a leader, and he's not a good player right now. He was last year, and he can still be that way. But you don't follow guys that aren't doing well. So he can try to lead. The guy's got to want to follow him. So that's part of the problem is there's not one guy that you say this is there's not a Grant Morgan out there. That's not even arguable. There's not a KJ Jefferson, and it's just that was the thing about this football team. And I guess I'm switching over right now. They had about 20 guys that you could say, well, they could be a captain or they could be a leader. Well, then that's when you have a good team, and that's how you go 9-4. And I know that is not a secret. Eric Musselman understands all that, and right now he's got to be the leader because he doesn't have anybody that I see out there that can be that.
Mm-hmm. And sticking with football, and you're talking about leadership, and we're going to find out if maybe one of those guys, especially on the defensive side, that could be one of those key leaders is coming back or going to go on to the NFL draft when Bumper Pool. We're going to find that out here in a couple days on Friday. More importantly, if he comes back, is it more importantly as far as leadership role on the defensive side or just, trying to keep that productivity? Because we talked about it here before, how the secondary could possibly be a top 5 secondary next year in the SEC. How important? Which way is it more important to have Bumper Pool back, leadership or productivity?
Yeah, I don't know how you even separate the two, but I understand your question. But I think that you need both. And what I just said about it's your best players are your leaders in most cases, and a lot of times your leaders are your best players, and that's what he is. And he is terrific in all ways. In other words, the way he handles himself, the way he is on the field, off the field. He doesn't put his team in jeopardy with risky plays. But he's the middle linebacker in the defense, guys. I mean, that's the most product rich position, on the team. I mean, that's everything, starts right there. So they need him because you would really suffer if you lost all three of those guys. 125 from Bumper, and then like 100 and 101 from the other two guys, Morgan and Henry. 300 something tackles. That's got to be the 70% of the defensive tackles. They'll find some more linebackers, but it would really help if you only had to find one less. That's probably oversimplifying it.
No, sometimes the simple statement is the truest statement, Clay.
Yeah, he's a good player, and he understands, and he fits real well with Michael Scherer. They've got some other guys that I think will develop, but that's what has to happen. Between now and when they play Cincinnati, they've got to find two more linebackers. You can't just play with two. You found out you could play with three. In other words, the rotation. But it's not just that you have two starters, because linebackers, they're going to get their shoulders dinged up. They're going to get their elbows and knees, as you saw with Grant Morgan. You got to have somebody step in, and that's where they really, have improved. That they, Hayden Henry had a great year, and that was the the breakthrough. I'm kind of watching to see what they do with Jaden Johnson, who played a lot of nickelback this year. Did not start in the bowl game. Had started some other games. But Greg Brooks started the bowl game and had a good game, interception, and had some pressures and sack, in blitzes. But Johnson is 220 now, and looks like he might go to 230. And if that happens, then I would say you'll see him at weak side linebacker, and he might be perfect.
Yeah, definitely need a lot of depth at linebacker, because you're right, Clay, that position does get banged up, and you need to have enough faith in the guy behind him to fill that role. And a guy on the offensive side of the ball that we got to see in the Outback Bowl kind of fill a little bit of the role when front man got a little banged up was Malik Hornsby. What kind of packages do you think we're going to see? A lot more packages for Malik Hornsby next year, even though KJ Jefferson is, I projected to have more success and continue to improve over his career here at Arkansas. But he looked really good in the Outback Bowl. Could we see more run packages with Malik?
Well, as long as you're running KJ the way you are, in other words, he's not doing any slides, right? He's going to take some hits, and you better have your two ready to go at that position. That's every team is only as good as their second team quarterback, because in the SEC they have to play at some point. And the challenge for Kendall Briles isn't just to create packages; it's to get him up to speed and to understand how to throw passes in a tight window, when to pull it down, make those decisions quicker. And the game slows down as you play longer. And you have to remember, there was a time when KJ looked like that. It's like, well, he's not a passer. He's just a runner. But now Hornsby's got the arm, and he's got plenty of zip on the ball, and can throw it on a line and can throw it a long ways. But I would guess that the job is really to bring him up to speed where he can run the whole package, and they can find some stuff for him. But it's that's the next step. And if he can't, where is Lucas Coley? And that's the decision that they've got to make this spring. Is if Coley shows signs of being able to run the whole package, is he the guy? And then you find some place for Hornsby to play that helps you.
All right, Clay, there's the music. We've hit up against it. Always appreciate talking to you. Thank you for your time, and looking forward to it next week.
Guys, always it's fun. Thank you for having me, and for, y'all really are always nice to me. Ask the easy questions. So
well, it's because we know that they're incredibly rude to you in the morning show, so we've got to balance it out here.
Yeah, it's all right. Yeah, all right. I'm rude to them right back. See y'all later.
Has you covered for all the holiday season. More props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline remains your #1 spot for all sports action. Head to our new updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus with the promo code BELIEVE to receive your bonus. That's BLEAV to receive your bonus. And it's not just football. BetOnline has pro and college hoops, NHL, boxing, UFC, even your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all these amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports.